Before we begin, take 1 second, breathe in, and if you love deep, emotional stories that stay with you long after they end, make sure you're subscribed. Stories like this don't just entertain, they change the way you see people. Now, let me tell you about the summer that quietly broke me and slowly rebuilt me into someone stronger. It all began on a morning that seemed far too bright for the fear growing inside me. The Alaskan sky stretched endlessly above, the sunlight warm yet refreshingly crisp. It was nothing like the dry heat of Amman, where I had spent my entire life. Everything around me felt enormous, untouched, and strangely peaceful, as though the land knew nothing about my past, my fears, or the expectations I had carried for years. Leaving home had never been part of my plan. My life had always been small but comforting, surrounded by family, familiar neighbors, narrow streets, and the soothing call to prayer echoing through the evening air. Yet life has a quiet way of leading us toward doors we never imagined opening. The Martin family needed a nanny, and I needed a fresh start. Of course, I needed the income, but money wasn't the only reason I accepted the job. I wanted something more: dignity, independence, and proof that I could build a life on my own. At 33, unmarried and determined to stand on my own feet, I had already become an unspoken topic back home. No one criticized me openly, but their glances spoke loudly enough. In their eyes, a woman my age should already have been someone's wife and someone's mother, not traveling across the world alone with nothing but a suitcase and hope. The Martin home was unlike anything I had ever seen. Polished marble floors reflected the sunlight pouring through enormous windows. The place didn't simply look expensive, it felt like a completely different world. Emily Martin welcomed me with genuine warmth. She was graceful, confident, and carried herself with effortless elegance. Her blonde hair was neatly tied into a flawless bun, and every detail of her appearance looked as though it belonged on the cover of a fashion magazine. Yet despite all of that, her smile felt sincere. "You must be Aaliyah," she said warmly, pronouncing my name with care, as though it truly mattered. Standing quietly beside her was Ethan. Tall and broad-shouldered, with slightly messy sandy brown hair curling at the edges, he had kind eyes framed by faint laugh lines that suggested he smiled far more often than he frowned. He didn't say much that first day. Instead, he simply handed me a cup of tea and offered a welcoming nod. Somehow, that simple gesture eased the nervousness I had been carrying since I arrived. Moments later, the peace disappeared as the children burst into the room like little whirlwinds. Emma was 5, Liam was 3, and together they filled the house with endless energy, sticky fingers, loud laughter, and more questions than I could possibly answer. I had never officially worked as a nanny before, but growing up as the oldest of 6 siblings had prepared me better than any training course ever could. Emily seemed to recognize that immediately. She handed me a thick binder packed with daily schedules, meal plans, emergency contacts, laundry instructions, and detailed household routines. It quickly became obvious that organization was her way of showing love. The first few weeks passed in a blur. Every morning started before sunrise. Breakfast had to be prepared, school bags packed, toys collected, stories read, and endless little disasters cleaned up. Finger paint somehow found its way onto tables, walls, and occasionally my clothes. Liam raced through the backyard as though gravity had never been invented, while Emma constantly asked questions about my accent, my family, and my home. Every night I returned to my small room in the basement completely exhausted. But beneath the exhaustion was something unexpected: contentment. For the first time in my life, I felt valued for simply being myself. Not because I was someone's daughter or sister, but because I was Aaliyah. About a month later, something quietly changed. Liam squeezed his juice box too hard, sending bright orange juice across the kitchen floor. As I knelt to clean the sticky mess, I noticed someone watching me. Ethan stood against the counter with his arms folded, wearing a gentle smile. "You're incredible with them," he said. The compliment was simple, yet something about the sincerity in his voice caught me completely off guard. "Thank you, sir," I replied automatically. He laughed softly. "Please, just call me Ethan." From that day forward, I became more aware of him. He always asked whether I had eaten. He quietly carried heavy grocery bags before I could reach them. Whenever I cooked, he found reasons to linger in the kitchen, as though our conversations had slowly become part of his daily routine. Meanwhile, Emily's work required her to travel more frequently. Meetings turned into conferences, conferences became flights, and before long, she spent more time away than at home. One evening Ethan looked at me thoughtfully. "Don't you ever get tired?" "Tired of what?" I asked. "Taking care of everyone else all the time." I simply shrugged. "It's what I've always done." He looked at me with quiet sadness. "You shouldn't have to." No one had ever said those words to me before. Where I came from, women were expected to give endlessly. Their sacrifices were ordinary, their efforts unnoticed, almost invisible. But Ethan saw me. That frightened me more than I wanted to admit. I knew my values. I knew my faith. I understood the boundaries I should never cross. Still, loneliness has a gentle voice, and genuine appreciation can easily disguise itself as comfort. The Alaskan summer stretched on beneath endless golden evenings. One rainy night, after the children had fallen asleep, the house became unusually quiet. Rain tapped softly against the windows while I stood washing dishes. Ethan joined me, rolling up his sleeves as he helped dry them. Our conversation drifted from simple topics to deeply personal ones. We spoke about family, sacrifice, dreams we had buried, and the lives we thought we were supposed to live. "I see everything you do," he said quietly. "You give so much of yourself." His eyes met mine, lingering just a little too long. Nothing dramatic happened. No grand confession. Just a silent understanding neither of us wanted to acknowledge. After that evening, everything changed. Our glances lasted longer. Ordinary jokes carried hidden meaning. Even silence between us seemed full of words neither dared to speak. And behind every smile, guilt quietly grew. Whenever Emily returned home from another business trip, reality returned with her. One night, beneath a sky filled with countless stars, I sat outside wrapped tightly in my scarf. Ethan quietly took the seat beside me. "We can't keep doing this," I whispered. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, with a trembling voice, he finally admitted, "I love you." Those words brought no happiness. They felt like everything inside me had collapsed. Because this love wasn't beautiful. It threatened a family. It challenged my faith. And it forced me to question the person I believed myself to be. The following week, I began searching for another job. Saying goodbye to Emma and Liam felt like losing a part of my own heart. Emily embraced me tightly, thanking me for everything I had done for her family. Ethan never spoke. He didn't need to. His eyes said goodbye in a language far too painful to translate. Back in Amman, life felt slower and more familiar. Instead of dwelling on everything I had lost, I poured my energy into something meaningful. I opened a small community center where women could learn new skills, find work, receive support, and rebuild their confidence. Slowly, piece by piece, I rebuilt my own life alongside theirs. Then, one quiet afternoon, I heard someone softly call my name. I turned around. Emily stood in the doorway. Time had softened both of us. We talked about the children, our lives, and everything that had changed. Then she looked at me and quietly said, "I knew, even back then." My heart nearly stopped. "I'm not here to blame you," she continued gently. "Life is complicated. I just needed to see you one more time, so I could truly understand." Tears filled my eyes. "I'm so sorry," I whispered. "I know," she replied softly. "I've forgiven both of you." Her forgiveness weighed far heavier than anger ever could. Before leaving, she looked around the community center and smiled. "You're doing something beautiful here," she said. "Don't let your past become your future." After she walked away, I remained standing there for a long time. That summer had once felt like an open wound. Now it was simply a scar. Still visible. Still unforgettable. But finally healed. I hadn't just left a house in Alaska. I had found the strength to return to the person I was always meant to be.